Do you suffer with a really tight throat, like maybe you can't speak properly, you can't eat properly, and it just feels like there's something grabbing in your throat all the time? If so, this is quite often a symptom of anxiety. Hi, my name's Barry Neale, and I'm a professional therapist who helps people with anxiety disorders. And one of the things that comes up so often when I'm working with my clients is this tightness in their throat. And many of them have been to their doctor to be examined, to be thoroughly checked over, which is great. I highly recommend that you do that. And they think there's something physical wrong with them. But the reality is, it's a symptom of anxiety. Now, I know some people will think that, and hang on a minute, I thought anxiety was a psychological issue. Well, it is, but it causes physical changes in your body. One of them can be tightness in your throat. I want you to think about this from an evolutionary point of view. We have what's called the fight or flight response when we're in danger. And in that situation, your brain is telling your body, you either got to fight for your life or you've got to run for your life. Now, in that situation, if you've got to run for your life or fight for your life, you can't be messing around digesting food. So what it does is it stops you from eating, and if you've got food in your stomach, a lot of times you can have IBS or irritable bowel syndromes because it forces it out the other way. So this tightness in the throat is a symptom of anxiety. And what can often happen is that when a person's going through a period of anxiety, the throat can tighten up a lot. But the downside of it is, what can often happen is that this tightness in the throat can often remain long after the anxiety is actually gone. Because what it tends then to become is what's called a body-focused repetitive behavior. Just in the same way as someone might have a twitch or Tourette's or something like that, the more they do it, the more they're focused on it. It's like skin picking. The more you do it, the more you're focused on it, the more it happens. And this is the same with the tightness in the throat. And what tends to happen is the muscles that tighten the throat get really strong, and the muscles that relax the throat get kind of weak. And so the stronger muscles overwhelm the weaker muscles. So what can you do to change that? Well, I'm going to give you three tips that you can use right now to start breaking this habit, this unconscious habit of your throat tightening. I'm going to give you three tips that you can use right now to completely change that. And what you've got to do is start using the muscles in a different way. That's really what you've got to do. So we've got to basically strengthen up the weaker muscles so that they no longer get overpowered by the stronger muscles, if that makes sense. So here's the first tip that I'm going to give you. The first thing you need to do to relax those throat muscles is to yawn as you inhale, and then after you've inhaled, then you exhale with a sigh. So it kind of goes like this. What's going to happen is it's going to start relaxing the throat muscles. So have a practice with that first. So if your throat is tight right now, do this along with me. Take a big yawn so your whole mouth and throat opens up. And again, repeat it. And again. And what you should notice already, just after a couple of times of doing it, is an opening up of those throat muscles. So that's one of the things that you can do. Now, I'm not suggesting you just do this 2 or 3 times and that's it, you're cured. You're going to have to do this repeatedly. And particularly when your throat is tight, yawn and do that. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to move your head muscles and throat muscles so you begin to open them up. So one of the things you can do is stretch right forward, all those muscles. So if you look at me from the side, stretching right forward, and hold that position for about 10 seconds. And if you thrust your chin forward, that opens the muscles even further. And then return to normal. And then go to the side and stretch right out and hold that for 10 seconds. And then to the other side. And if you push your jaw forward, again, it will stretch those muscles. So that's tip number 2. Number 3, and I'm embarrassed to do this on video, and that is singing. one of the ways of opening up your throat muscles is to sing. In fact, there's actually been studies where they've looked at people who are in choirs, and they have about 37% less anxiety than the general population. Why? Because they're opening their voice and they're breathing properly. So one of the things you want to do is to start to sing. Now, I'm not expecting you to be going on to America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent. You just need to sing. So you don't have to have a perfect voice in any way, shape or form. But what you need to do is to start opening up your voice box. So you can do that by singing scales, the sort of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You can do that with the warm-up exercises that singers often do. Now, one of the ones that they do is they blow with their lips. So it sounds like this. So you do a scale like that. And again, it doesn't have to be accurate. You're not trying to win a singing contest, but you're starting to open up your throat muscles. Or you can hum. And if you start to practice these three things, what will happen is those weaker muscles will start getting strong again, and that body repetitive behavior will start to go away. You have to repeat this over and over and over and over again for it to have long lasting effects. And if you do it, it will really work. I work with clients with anxiety disorders every day who've got these throat issues. And if they practice the exercises, it clears up really quickly. The key is repetition. Repetition is the mother of skill. You got really good at closing up your throat muscles. You need to get really good at opening up. So just practice these three skills, and if you do that, you'll notice profound change in just a few days and a few weeks of doing it. The problem will be over. Now, if you need any help with anxiety, my contact details are in the description somewhere, and I can definitely help you with anxiety and panic attacks, because ultimately the real way of solving this is to deal with the underlying anxiety. So if you're still suffering with anxiety, go and seek help, either with myself or your doctor, but do go and seek help. Anxiety is something you do not need to suffer with. It is something that can be changed relatively easy with a good therapist. So meanwhile, practice these three skills, open up your throat muscles, and you'll find a great deal of relief from doing this.